Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 24 of the Empowered Hearts podcast. We have a super special guest today, Stephanie Vorpahl, who is a human design expert, an empowerment coach, and a business expert. And we are going to dig into her story and everything human design today. So this is going to be a good one. So welcome, Stephanie.
Welcome, Stephanie. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk all things human design because I love it so much. And, Morgan, you're a projector and Krystal, you're a MG. So it's going to be really cool to see that dynamic in play with you two on this podcast.
It's odd. I take the lead. It's like my masculine energy comes out, but like Krystal's in her masculine energy all the time. So this is where she comes and just lands. So I'd be curious to know if that's in our charts or not.
Yeah, we can dig a little deeper as we go.
Yeah. So
I
for
guess we can.
sake, how did you get into this?
Yeah. So my entryway into human design was astrology.
Okay.
I loved all things astrology for a while, and human design at the time, this was 2018, 2019. There was a little bit of talk on podcasts I was listening to and around. And as I was learning astrology, I was kind of on the side doing my own study of human design. And once I got really versed in astrology, I went all in on human design. But what I thought was really interesting about it was when I was doing readings for my clients, I was doing astrology readings. And at the end, I would just throw in a couple things about human design. And it was just seeing people light up in such a different way through the lens of human design was so fascinating for me. So that kind of led me more into the study of it. And then I am a projector, and I was so confused as to why some things weren't working for me, especially in this coaching space at the time. And my coach at the time was a manifesting generator. So I was doing a lot of attempting to keep up with that kind of energy and strategy. And I just wanted to figure out how I could be more aligned with showing up and sharing my light in a different way, in a different configuration. And through the lens of human design, I really took some time, figured out what worked for me, and then implemented it. And at that point, that's when my business really took off.
Wow.
There was a level of the rest in the projector energy and sharing about what I was excited about and just approaching it from a different angle. And that was what really gave me the runway to keep going. And also just to share with other projectors that and on sacrals in itself to just slow down and get in your lane and share a little bit differently. So that's kind of the arc. And I've been teaching and coaching and sharing with a lot of different containers about human design over the years. And there's still so much room for this modality. Every day I meet a new person who's never heard about human design. So I just want everyone to hear about it and know a little bit more about themselves, because it gives us permission to be weird and different and just fully ourselves.
Amen to that. I mean, for sure, I think you would have been the first person to really dive in deep with me about it. And I was like, oh, that's why my energy dips. That's why I'm exhausted from nothing. But it's not exhaustion from nothing, but that's what it felt like. And it just, it allowed me to give myself a little bit of grace, where I find this life is all based on generators, really. It's we just go, 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 and we don't function that way.
Yeah, well, when 70% of the population has the energy of a manifesting generator or a generator, it is hard. The non-sacrals in human design are projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. So there's this different pulse that we have. And, there comes a time in our life, we can act like a generator for a very long time, but I found in my late 30s, that doesn't work as well anymore. And we're looking at our coworker or our boss or our friend or our partner, and we're like in the corner, like tapped out, and they're still sprinting, right? And I think it's just good for all of us to remember to slow down. Now, with projectors, the waiting for the invitation element is different. It's not just about sitting and waiting. It's really about study, rest, learn, play, things like that. Manifesting generators, it's more about following what lights you up and having 12 things simultaneously going on at the same time, and those will start shaking out. So it's just really interesting how all these types are different.
So can we go through the different ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, human design, real basic. It was downloaded in the 1980s by this man, who he was like the reluctant mystic. He's a manifestor, and he downloaded it over a series of days. And it's bringing older modalities together to create a newer system. So you've got the Kabbalah tree of life, you've got Western astrology, you've got the Chinese I Ching, you've got the Hindu chakra system, and then you have quantum physics, like mixing all together. So it takes it goes really deep, but like with any modality like this, it can be really simple. Much like astrology, where you got your big three, sun, moon, rising. In human design, you can do it real simple: type, strategy, authority. I'll highlight the types. You've got your manifestor, generator, manifesting generator, projector, and reflector. The highlight for like a manifestor is, this is like the 5 types working together, moving into the future of our society. The manifestor is here to really lead, go first, direct the collective in a different kind of energy. It's very fast moving. Manifestor is a non-sacral, so there's like a sprint and rest happening with that type. The generator is your sacral type. This is the person that can go, but it's like with the generator energy, it's like step by step by step. Mastery, it's very methodical and slow. And then where the manifesting generator is like skip steps to mastery. So they're sprinting out of the gate, running in circles, going this way, that way, and shaking it all out in a different way. So the energy is a little different. There's a tiny bit of manifestor energy in that manifesting generator, but I would say it falls more under generator. And those are the 2 sacral energies. So you've got this like gut energy, this sacral energy to go. That doesn't mean you can go forever, but you can definitely I think a good visual for sacral versus non-sacral energy is manifesting generators, and generators are like sprinting around a track. And the manifestors and the projectors and the reflectors are attempting to sprint next to them. And there comes a point in time where the non-sacrals just have to go over to their pretty little garden and do a meditation and let the sacral energy folks just go. So I think that helps us all understand it a little differently. So then we're moving into projectors, which we've kind of brought up a little bit. And it's a guiding energy. It's a wisdom energy. It is not, the projector is not meant to go, go, go. It's more like having the manifestor come up with a creative, innovative thing, having a generator or manifesting generator kind of do it. And then the projector's like, okay, this is cool, but maybe we can pivot this way. Or like the projector kind of sees the bigger picture and like a couple steps ahead.
Yeah.
It's not to say that the manifesting generators and the generators are the workhorse. They just have the sacral energy to do a little bit more. Then you move into the reflector energy, which has no open centers, which is a deeper discussion, but they're really here to mirror the collective energy and kind of tap in and be like, is this good for all of us or not? Is this good or not? And that's kind of that deep sage intuition coming from the reflector energy. And all 5 types work together in their own dance. That makes sense.
It's fascinating. That makes perfect sense. Thank you for explaining that. Yeah.
Okay, so a reflector, like what would be, can you give me like a tangible example of like what would be like an ideal job for a reflector?
I feel like the reflectors that I know are big disruptors and they really know the person. So healing, energy, natural medicine, that kind of thing, where it's like you come to me and I can really see you
Yeah.
very intuitively. Um, that's kind of, and the reflector can tap into all the energy centers of the other person they're working with. So that's where I see reflectors. They really know more than just like maybe what they've learned in school kind of energy. They can really like tap in. That also for a reflector means they need to really figure out who they're with and what environment they're in and all that, because they really have to be a detached observer or they can pick up way too much of other people's energy.
That sounds like me and Krystal, and we're not
But we're just,
imagine what it
we're
would be like
clairsentient.
to be a reflector. Like that would be what?
Well, I mean, you both have defined centers in your chart and open centers in your chart. So the white is like an undefined or an open center, and the colored are defined energy. And that's where the like chakra systems would come into play in this, but there's 9 centers instead of 7. So like a deeper dive would be to look into your energy centers, because that's like you both have an open or an undefined um like solar plexus, which is like the emotional energy. So you both pick up energy from people.
Yep.
And the way that I mean, Morgan, you have a fully open, so you're like way open. And then Krystal, you have 1 activation in it, so it's probably not as open as Morgan, but with energy centers, you want to, especially with that one. So the way this one would play out was you walk into a room and you know exactly how your partner feels, your friend feels, your business partner, the lady in the grocery store, whatever. You just can feel it. Now, if you were defined, you would have your own emotional wave, which is different. If you were defined, you would process over a couple of days to find the right answer or decision, because the energy centers are where you feel like you're connecting. So some of you, like another one, for example, is you both have a defined throat and you actually have like one of the same activation. Now the activation for those who are looking at a physical chart is like where it's the circle colored in red. And those are like, I want to not get too far ahead, but it's like activated by a planetary placement in your chart. And there's unconscious energy and there's conscious energy. And so because both of your throats are defined, it makes sense you're on a podcast. You're very defined in how you speak. Manifestation is like, I have a defined throat and I like to say my manifestations out verbally in a voice note. So those are where like, when you're looking at the reflector and they have none of these defined, not 1, 0. So every single element, in their chart that's a energy center, they're constantly feeding in information, because that's where your wisdom comes through. Like undefined center, it filters through all that and you can read the collective. So think of having every single intuitive antenna going off in your body.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Triple shield.
that is fascinating.
Because human designs brings in our auric energy field. We get really esoteric here, but it's like that energy you feel when you walk into a room and you can feel people and things and you know things. I do a lot of Kundalini yoga and it's about vibrating this beautiful, light, bright field of auric energy, so that's the kind of quantum physics coming into play. And the energy centers are kind of like mirroring that vibration.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it truly is. Like I feel like I'm absorbing little bits and pieces, and like by what you've explained today, I have like a better understanding of how the chart works and also the different types.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful.
What I will bring back to the, because I feel like energy centers are level 2. Level 1 is your type. And like, I'm probably not going to be able to get into it, but I have plenty of resources for people who want to go farther. But type, strategy, authority are your top three. Those are your like sun, moon, rising. So it's like really good to know your decision-making strategy. Morgan, you're a splenic projector. So for you, it's that splenic authority. And that is all about that quiet, intuitive hit that comes through, that when it hits your brain and your ego, you're like, what? I don't understand. It's also like that energy if you go to a coffee shop and you're like, no, and turn around and go. Like it's like on a like small level, those little things will bring you into bigger decisions.
That's
And
like
like,
when I visited where Krystal lives. Originally, I went to British Columbia and I got there and I was like, I'm home. Like that's all. It was just like,
really,
yeah. And like now I'm gonna move there. Like I just knew.
right. So it's that kind of like primal energy that you feel. And then you can make a bigger decision, like a move, because you've trusted your little tiny little nuggets of intuitive hits, right? To make the bigger decisions from your intuition.
So that's called the what?
That's your authority. So the
Really?
authority in human design is your decision-making faculty. And that's kind of what I was self-projected, which is totally different. I have to talk and 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 decode the frequency and what I'm saying to come up with a decision. So I have a sounding board. I have like a couple friends, my mom, like whatever, that I'm like, I'm gonna process through something. So they know just to listen and not solve, but ask questions and then reflect back to me and like what to do.
Okay. That sounds like Bella. So that is really helpful because she has to talk everything out. Bella's
Yeah.
my daughter.
Yeah. So I would check if what kind of authority she has, you know?
No, I don't.
Anyways, I have to talk it out. I
Yeah.
have to talk it out. And once I learned how to do that with small things, I can make really big decisions by talking it out with a trusted person that's close to me.
So then if you're on the other side of that, you said listening and asking questions to help further.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then reflect when you hear the tonation happening where they get excited or they're like
Yeah.
going, you know. So you can also
Okay.
reflect back like what I heard you say that you were really excited about is this. But you
Okay.
don't want to solve the problem. You need them to
Okay. Yeah.
problem
So true. Oh my
or
God.
come up with the answer. But
Okay.
you can definitely like ask more questions, be like, okay, what I heard you say here was really thing. Maybe share a personal example to help them process through, but not being like, well, you should do this. Like
Okay.
that's gonna have them not trust their intuitive decision-making faculty.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
like almost mirroring what they're saying back to them.
Yeah, just not giving an answer and reflecting and asking
Yeah.
questions and sharing, but not being like, okay, well, you said all this, so let's do this. Because then
Yeah.
there's just this level of trusting your own decisions. And that's what I love about human design is the decision-making faculty. Krystal, for you, you're a pure manifesting generator. So you're that trust your gut energy. You know, you do have that physical primal decision-making faculties coming through. Instead of, you know, the classic example is, hey babe, where do you want to go for dinner? Your partner should be like asking, do you want to go here tonight? Do we want to make this tonight? Like, or do you want to go here tonight? Would this concert be fun in a month? Whatever, you know, like it's about asking yes or no questions. You start big and you broaden them in, and then you'll have a primal, even how you said, like that primal yes or no energy is like you being like, yes, I hear you. Like that's what you're looking for. So in that respect, much like, and with anyone in human design, bringing in a partner, a best friend, a parent, someone close to you, kids, and explaining this kind of decision-making faculty helps. So for you, your daughter or friend, partner, whatever, just being like, can we experiment with this for like a month? Like instead of just being like, what should we do? Or even with your daughter, it's like, there can be this energy of like, instead of being like, Mom, what should we do? And just be like, well, list a couple things that you want to do or that we could do together. And you'll kind of like know what you kind of want to do. Like, and that's the experiment. And that's when you start trusting yourself. So when like, again, when you do these little day-to-day decision-making things, bigger ones come into play and you can make bigger life decisions, business, personal, once you trust that. And then you're not reaching for the person externally to make the decision for you. Or I love tarot and pendulum and all of it, but it's like trusting that finite decision. Because if someone helps you make a big decision for you, you got to live with that. And I think people really need to own what life is already presenting in front of them.
That is really helpful because anytime I have a day where it's like freedom, I honestly don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, so having someone close to you help you figure out what that is.
Yeah.
It could even be a voice note yourself. I mean, there's ways you can do it with yourself. I'm not a sacral, so I don't have like a big master plan, but I can say if you experiment with people around you and with like voice noting yourself and things like that, you start coming up with what's really working for you to trust yourself more.
Yep, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I can voice note you.
You can. You
Yeah.
can ask me 101 questions and then I can just,
Yes, no.
define it down.
And maybe where that some of that masculine feminine is you're like, okay, we got this big plan. So I'm gonna like, do you want to do this today, this today, this today? Maybe that's where some of that question you're asking me before comes through is like the projector sees 5 steps ahead and the manifesting generator is like, well, where do you want to go? Because I can do any of it. And the projector's like, well, I don't want to do that many things. So let's like, what are we going to do today? And that's maybe where some of that, and that would be interesting for you two to play, like allowing her splenic to come through with like crazy business ideas or podcast ideas and like really just owning it if it doesn't totally make sense and it maybe makes sense also. And then for you to get clarity on like where you want to contribute and her asking you questions.
Yep.
We had a crazy business idea come through today. They always come. It's just like, like random shit. I'm like, I write all the stuff down as the wave comes. And then when the wave goes, it goes. And I'm like, my battery's dead. And then the wave comes and it's like all these things. And it's like finding I need to hone it when I have it and like utilize and get on social media and make reels or because then when I need to back off, it's like, forget it. Like, it's just like, no.
Yeah, but that would also just be like voice noting yourself, making a quick note. So like the intuitive hits are there, whether you have the energy or not to task it forward that moment also.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So we have authority. And so what's a strategy?
Type, strategy, authority. So that is going to be different for every single type. I'll kind of go through them a little quicker. I can go a lot deeper, but I'll start with you two. I'll start with manifesting generator. I'm going to kind of zigzag around. Manifesting generators, it is textbook says to respond. My thing is you are moving so incredibly fast. You need to stop, slow down, visualize what you want to have come through. Let life kind of respond to what your vision is and what's coming through, business, personal, whatever, because the response is life will throw you. You might hear a song on the radio or watch something on TV or a friend says something to you, like, or you'll meet somebody at the coffee shop or something random. And that'll kind of take the momentum forward. And then you want to inform anyone affected, because that's the little bit of manifestor energy is like inform business, personal. This is like the energy of just informing anyone affected by your decision and then take action. So you don't go straight into the action. And manifesting generators can get so stuck in burnout from just going full force at every single thing they're doing without really seeing the big picture. So if you visualize, slow down, all the vision, it's just slowing down that speedy little beast that you are, like visualize and then take action, essentially. As a generator, since we're talking sacral, it's response. It's not slowing down to vision as much. It's like kind of playing around with some ideas and that mastery of step by step learning, and then responding to what life has to come, then taking action. But they don't have to inform as much as a manifesting generator, and the slowing down energy isn't happening because a generator is pulsing a lot slower. They're like, I want to learn the whole thing and then go on to the next thing. And when they get bored or fidgety, it just means that a generator needs to learn a new level of mastery. So they're waiting for that new level, whether it's a class or learning or a book or a person coming in, to then move into action. Projectors are waiting for the invitation, but there's a caveat with this one as well. You need to be seen and recognized and invited. If you're just invited and not seen or recognized, I don't know if that's the right fit for you. So even though you're waiting for the invitation, you must be seen and recognized. What do projectors do while they're waiting? It's not this response energy that the sacral energy, the MG&Gs have. It's like learn, play, study, rest, all these things, so that, like, for example, you invited me to be on this podcast. I'm ready. I don't need to go read more stuff about human design to be able to get on a call and talk human design. But if I was still maybe a beginner human design projector reader, I probably would have like taken a little bit more time to read, and maybe I wouldn't have felt more as prepared. But I'm prepared to just like jump on and talk all things because I get lit up, I'm excited, and I'm ready and I'm rested.
Yeah.
And I'm not scheduling it right before I have to go into work or something. Like, I'm not like scheduling it to make my day busier. I'm like, yeah, this works. Actually, I've this, even the scheduling of this works for me to feel vibrant and rested and ready to talk and share my wisdom. So I always like to caveat that, because as a projector, you could get invited, but they're just invited. Like, I get emails all the time. Oh, come on my podcast, come do this. And I'm like, I have never engaged with you at all. You're just like picking me out of like a lineup of people. Or getting invited to share in a mastermind somewhere else where I'm like, I've never engaged with you before. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's like sometimes like it's that energy, and you get to say no and you get to decide. And I always think projectors, if you're getting invited, it doesn't mean you have to say yes, period.
I feel like there has to be a level, like the way that I understand this for myself, to be seen and heard, like it needs to be personal. It can't just be, like you said, like a lineup. It needs to be like, we want you because we appreciated your wisdom before and we want you for you. And then you're like, oh, okay. And like, that's when I feel like that's aligned to go and do something. If somebody doesn't see me for my value, I just don't care. Like it doesn't feel good to me. That's how I
Yeah.
digest it, I guess.
Yeah. And I just like projectors know you just don't sit around. You're sharing
Oh.
on social media. You're telling people out in the world what you're excited about. Like, that's what you get, whatever it is. Like, you're talking about what you're learning and what you're excited about. And then people see you for your wisdom.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it true that projectors are like, I'll just say this, faster learners, or do they like extract things differently than manifesting generators or generators?
I don't think it's faster per se. It's just that we like to take complex systems and simplify them.
Yeah.
If that
Yep.
helps clarify what that is. Yeah.
Like, I ran somebody's company and I was like, this is a disaster. Like, let me fix it.
Fix it.
Like, I can fix your shit. That's, I think, what we're
Yeah.
good at. But how do we utilize that for ourselves?
Well, I mean, I think it's the same structure. It's like we can see farther. You know, projectors sometimes can't see themselves. Sometimes it's good for a projector to talk to a projector so they can see themselves better. Because sometimes we're so focused on the other. Now, this is, you know, a projector's aura is very penetrative, whereas an MG or a G is very open and enveloping. So it's very easy for us to like just penetrate into the other's aura, and sometimes we don't see ourselves. However, I think as projectors in business, especially, it's like we can see the bigger picture of where we want to take it and what we want to do. Sometimes we just need to lay in bed and write the emails and do the website and all the things, right? So like working horizontal and all the little things, sometimes is just the way we do it, instead of also it's tasking. It's like one big task a day instead of 5. Like it's just a slower engagement. But I would say you can still see the bigger picture, but sometimes it's good to have another projector reflect that wisdom to you. And that's helped me a lot.
It's fascinating.
Morgan, is Victoria a projector?
Generator.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why she's
Nonstop.
creating constant.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the projector MGG like energy is like a very positive auric exchange.
Okay.
Also,
Huh.
because it's like the projector is penetrating into the open enveloping aura of the MG or G energy, and like sharing their wisdom with the person who is like, I'm gonna do all the things, and you're like, let's focus on this thing. Like it kind of slows them down and gets them clear. And then the MG and G is giving you the sacral energy to give you the energy to do all the things. Like the two of you sitting in a coffee shop together in a room together, probably you get more done than when you are separate, because that again, that auric energy. I love to go to a coffee shop when I'm feeling like a little bit like I need a little boost, because I can pick up all the energy from all the bodies in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mentor right now is a generator, and I just find like I like I'm ending our term, but I need her energy, like just even as in a distance. So I've rehired her as like in a group setting, in a very distant group setting, but that's fine because I've been close with her before. So just hearing her speak like gets me. I'm like, okay, we're doing the thing. We're gonna get back on the wagon and be busy.
Yeah, and it could be like one of her energy centers could be activating some stuff with you, like her wolf center is a good one that helps activate. So there's also some of that coming through, I'm sure, if I saw their chart.
Interesting.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Because you are like with the energy centers, it's like you are, with partners or people close to you, kind of plugging into the places that are missing in yours and creating like a superhuman energy field.
Okay.
Wow.
Which is also level 3. So I'm just kind of like brush stroking.
I love it.
What's happening.
I love
My
it.
Scorpio self is just gonna like just pick. I'm like, what else can we know right now?
How
So
deep can we go?
Yeah, let me just hit reflectors and manifestors for any folks on the call with like checking in on that. Manifestors strategy is to like initiate and form. So manifestors are moving so incredibly fast. They're like on a bullet train zooming away, and everyone that's around them is like, wait, what's happening? I want to come on the train with you. But they're just like head down forward force. So a strategy for manifestors is to inform those around them. It helps them get on board with their vision, their strategy, whatever they're moving towards, instead of feeling, because manifestors, they have a repelling aura. They're like, they've got a very Aquarian energy of like, I know I got this. I can do it all by myself. And they're big, bold energy. They're also like the person who walks in the room who's like, whoa, you have so much magnetic energy. And because of that, through the years, through childhood and into adulthood, they're like kind of like try to dim their light and do everything themselves. So for your manifestors, just inform everyone around you to help you on your journey to your innovations, creativity. I don't know if you know any manifestors, but they have big energy and they're like sprint rest, sprint rest, sprint rest, sprint rest. Like they have these big ideas and they just go for it and then they just crash.
I don't, but
Yeah, I'm not.
I can see it in Krystal, like that manifestor part. I can see when I stayed with her, I was like, because she's also a Capricorn stellium.
my
So
gosh.
it was like, what is going on? Like, I thought you were like this relaxed, like feminine. No, like I was like, okay, everything's spinning. She's just going, and I'm like, okay, I'm just here.
Yeah, that's why she's sprinting around the chat track. You're in the garden having a cup of tea, going, come
Yeah.
find me when you're ready to chill.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
I guess the projector or maybe would be helping I mean, maybe even the manifester, like, be like, no, go right. You're getting off track. Go this way. If they're just like at
Yeah.
first.
And then real quickly with the reflector, you're mirroring the collective. So you can really tap into the
Yeah.
individual. And my big advice for reflectors again is that, well, okay, so also the 4 types, projector, manifestor, MGG, ruled by the sun. Reflector, ruled by the moon.
Mm.
Okay.
So understanding moon cycles is really imperative because the strategy for a reflector is to wait 28 lunar days to make a decision.
Wow.
So obviously in the world we live
Holy.
in, that's not always a thing. So my reflector strategy is to really chart your moods and how you're feeling based on the 2.5-day change of the moon. So you can sometimes make decisions sooner than 28 days and understand that when you're making big decisions and the strategy of waiting 28 days, healthy environment with a good friend, don't go to like a noisy coffee shop or all that stuff. You want to be like in a nice out in nature or at home in a very curated space to like reflect and make decisions and have that strategy.
That's
So
fascinating.
Yeah,
yeah,
that is
1% of the
fascinating.
population are reflectors, so they're very unicorn of the system. So I think it's good just to know the 5 and how we
Yep.
all work together and we all are different, and it makes sense when you're working with someone. Like I worked for this woman for 4 years, and she was definitely an MG, and she would just go, go, go. And I would have completed all the tasks we had decided for her business in like 45 minutes, but it would take her 5 hours to do 2 things. And I would be in the corner like, oh my gosh, we have to be done now. Like, so now as I reflect back on that, because I didn't know human design then, I was like, whoa, you know, like, and it just helps. It's like astrology where you get to know the people around you and you start to have compassion for why they
Mm.
act differently, move about differently, make decisions differently. I mean, when you invited me into this, I just quickly said yes because I am a projector Taurus. It would have taken, if I hadn't have just said yes, let's do this. I didn't wrap a bow around it, but I'm like, let's go. Because it would have taken me a week to write some fancy, cute little thing to you. Because I move slow. I move very slow. And it's something I work through all the time. So sometimes quick, direct responses are the way that I can speed up my slow moving energy.
Love that.
My dad actually is a manifestor as I was listening to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So I'd be curious, like,
But he is a very slow moving energy. It's so it doesn't.
but that might be based on his astrology too. What's his like sun, moon, rising?
He's a Sag Sun, Scorpio moon, and I don't remember the rising, but
I mean, that makes sense. Sag is aloof and charming and like, yeah. I mean, I also like, I can see, like, I see a lot of Virgos being generators, you know, like, I see more like Scorpio energy and reflectors sometimes, like, I don't know. So I feel like some sun signs or signs come through more in different types. Now, I don't know if that's like scientific, but just from what I've seen, I see certain like, and listen, there's like Western astrology in this chart, but like, yeah, some, you know, like you can have a slower moving generator because they're maybe Piscean, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
and like with anything we're doing, everything is in the gray, right? I'm just giving you like bits and pieces of like, and be curious to see now that you have some insight on a manifestor energy the next time you interact with him. It's not, does he just do things and not tell you? And like a month later, you're like, he did all these things that he, I don't know.
He's just
Well,
very,
he went and filled the propane bottle.
yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna pay attention now.
Yeah.
He's just doing, he's in his own world doing random things. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Like, I'm like,
Mhm.
he's retired, so he's just like, I'm like, oh, like you're doing this. It's just, I'm like so caught off guard. I'm like, I thought you were miserable on the couch. He's like, well, no, like, blah, 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 blah. And all this, like, it's just very random. Yeah, it's very Aquarius. It's
Yeah.
random.
Yeah. And it's like that. I'm just going to do the thing and not tell anybody. And then, oh, you asked? Yeah, I already did the thing. Like, why would I tell you that?
Yeah.
It's,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, that kind of energy.
That's interesting.
So like in building a different facet of that relationship, maybe asking more questions when you're on a call with him, because he probably won't tell you half the things he's done. I don't know. Just throwing that out there as an experiment to play with.
Huh. So you said that you use human design for business. How does that work for you? Like, how did you find that that works in your business to help other people?
I love teaching a business aspect of it for myself and for clients because it comes up with the energy of we all really need to approach business differently. And I have taught quite a few like human design and business courses, but like an example would be like for projector energy, instead of all this like initiation energy like a manifestor would be to just be like click the link, do the thing, da 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 da. It's like a softer call to action. It's like not
Hmm.
always putting a call to action, and it's also like when I speak on podcasts or master classes or masterminds or all this stuff, it's like I'm being seen and recognized by the person who's invited me into the container, but these folks in this container don't know me. And so for me to just be like, get done with the call and be like, have a reading, that's my
Mm.
work for a manifestor or manifesting generator. But what works better is, hey, come into my world and see what's going on. Here's this freebie.
Hmm.
Like
Mhm.
slide in slow. And then I get the bookings. But for me to
Mm.
go forward straight with a booking, for me has not worked. For me to give more of a quieter call to action where people can start to get to know me now that this person has seen and recognized me and invited into their community, then I get launched off. I get more referrals than I get things from like if I was a manifestor, a like really bold call to action, like I have this idea, come along, do you want to do it with me? That's kind of the pulse. I think manifesting generators, it's more like in a business sense, it's like asking the community, have this idea. Do you want me to talk about this or do you want me to talk about this? And like getting that. And then even with how people are answering, respond, but do I want to do that? Or am I more excited about this? So it's a little bit different of a pulse. And I think knowing some of that helps, and it's helped me
Mhm.
greatly.
Mhm.
And then it's just like, again, moving back to the decision-making faculties, trusting yourself with your business decisions instead of asking 8 coaches what you should be doing or that friend
Mhm.
or that business person. It's like, no, I made this decision and I filtered it through my decision-making faculties and we're going forward.
Hmm. And so you, aside from helping clients with this, have you used human design for your own business, like to help you understand your own life and business and your relationship to your business?
Yeah, I use it every single day. Um, it's how I show up on content. I mean, I am not always pushing a product. I'm just showing up and sharing what lights me up and people book or um I take a rest day because today is not the day, or I get really excited about this content I'm going to make, or this website upgrade, or this podcast thing, or whatever it is. And I filter it through all of it. Um, yeah, it's just given me, human design in general has given me the fortitude to like make it my own and understand
Mm.
when I look at how other people show up. whatever they are. And I always, I keep like a track record of like people that I follow and I'm excited about and the way they show up. And I'm like, what's their sun, moon, rising? What's their human design? Because I'm like, oh, that makes sense that they're showing up that way. And it might repel people if I show up that way, which is just that auric flow of energy.
I love that. I would love to learn more about that
Yeah.
for like content and, like selling and.
Yeah, and I have gone into more detail with that and other things, but just in general, like start looking at your human design and matching it with someone that you are looking up to, figure out their human design and just see how they show up. And then a person who has your human design and how they're showing up and just follow the way that they are online, because I think it really helps see why it's working for them. I know a lot of projector coaches that are doing really well or service providers, and they're not always showing up online, but when they drop content, you're like, bam, and it hits hard and it's deep wisdom and it brings you in and you feel seen. And then you can see like a manifestor just being like, woo, look at my big life. Come on, let's go. Let's do it. Just kind of like, it's just like a different pulse. Everybody shows up different, and it is reflected by the astrological makeup as well, but it's huge. And I have really changed the way I do my call. I mean, the calls to action thing is so huge. And I think understanding people and listen, doing something different than just being like getting off a call with someone and being like, yeah, buy my service. You've never met me before, but I've just talked to you for 25 minutes. In any auric type might not work either. So finding what works for you is good. And, going back to the energy centers, you can kind of see where your wisdom lies in those based on undefined or defined. And caveat is it's always fun to see with a primary health system, which is the arrows, which is a whole other conversation, but that's a place where you can eat, the way you have your house, the way you decorate, the way you sit in a room can activate your creativity. So that's like another whole conversation, but we get in the primary health
That's
system,
level 4,
I'm
Morgan.
drooling.
So there's also fun parts of human design that aren't so serious about strategy, but it's like, rearranging your house if you're a certain type can like markets is like a way that can activate your creative brain waves. Or like, the way I have to eat is it has to be loud and noisy and all this stuff. And like I should be walking around my house. And so sometimes I'll put a podcast on or TV when I'm eating to just help stimulate what I'm digesting to then stimulate my brain. So that's like a playful thing that you can bring into it, which also helps business owners when they are feeling stuck. So you can kind of like play in those arrows as well.
Fascinating.
But for anyone, type strategy authority, just like sun, moon, rising, like start with the experiment like I was giving you to, like someone close, I'm going to experiment with this, start trusting yourself more. And like with astrology or any other modality, it's like layering it on. And once you feel comfortable in that, then you go a level deeper and a level deeper. And frankly, there's some parts that it's like, you can go so deep, but there gets to be a point where like you just kind of get lost in it too.
So what is your favorite part of human design? Like, do you have something that you're just like, I'm obsessed with this part? Or is it just everything in total?
I would say, type strategy authority, then move into the energy centers. The energy centers will like blow the top off because it's like really how to like tap into other people's energy, your own energy. Like I have, if you have like an open head center, it's like you have so many ideas, but you're like the cat trying to like bring them all in. It just is like you start like being like, whoa. So that one's really cool. Primary health system for like more playful. I think a lot of us have heard Gene Keys. I will say I love Gene Keys. It is human design adjacent. It's Richard Rudd did learn under Ruhu, but it's called the art of contemplation. So you like it's the gate activations and your energy centers. And my only thing with that I like to tell people is it's the art of contemplation. Just read the thing, let it distill through you and learn a little bit more. Right.
I've only heard of it. I haven't really gone down the rabbit hole yet.
Yeah, and that's why I think when people get to Gene Keys, it can be like a little overwhelming. So if you just remember that his whole concept is that it's contemplation, and I'll like read a Gene Key and be like, whoa, mind blown. And then that's okay, because it's not about like reading all the gates and all the activations and being like, I have to know this thing about me because it will be this thing, but just read it and let it distill through.
Mm.
And that's,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like is good because I think Gene Keys help bring human design full circle a little bit when you get, levels in, like I said. So yeah, there's so much. There's so much.
So much. So how can people work with you through
Yeah.
this experience?
I'm super easy to find. Stephanie Vorpahl everywhere. Website, Instagram. My podcast is Auric Magnetism
Okay.
on Spotify or Apple. But to work with me, I do business readings, I do personal readings, I do business coaching. Yeah, very easy to find, very easy to book.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, so we have a question that we ask our guests.
Okay.
And you just answer however you feel called. There's no right or wrong way. So our podcast is called the Empowered Hearts Podcast. So we like to ask, like, what does it mean to you to have an empowered heart?
Let's see. I think for me to have an empowered heart is to be compassionate and aware as you move through life, as well as I think it's perpetual learning for me. It's like learning about the other, learning about myself so that I can move through the world with a full heart.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yep. What about you, Krystal, today?
Slowing down. I find that's empowering for me. I had a very a day of presence, and I feel so easeful. So slowing down and just clearing my mind has really empowered me, and I've gotten a lot of things accomplished today. What about you, Morgan?
Leaning in to and not fighting against the grain of what my energy is asking of me. So right now it's the more of the dip, and I resist it every single time. You think that I would learn, and I don't, and then I'm like, oh, all right, and I lean in, and then it's up
Goes
again.
away. Yeah.
The irony.
That's beautiful though. The irony, yeah.
Well, Stephanie, this was beautiful. I could pick your brain, and I know
Yeah.
well for hours, but we will leave that for another day, and we will allow the people that hear this to find you and to book a session, and they can pick your brain as well. So thank you so much. This has been beautiful.
Yeah.
I
Thank
feel
you
like
so much.
I feel
This
like a
was
lot of
fun.
our
I love it. I love talking human design.
well, it's just like second nature to you. It's like you're talking about, I don't know, trees or something, like the colors or something like that.
It's just so natural.
Yeah. I'd be
Yeah.
like, here's the chart. Like, okay, guys, we will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining.